What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Joy of Animating. I am your host and friend, Skep Marazi, here for a behind-the-scenes podcast with Cox in Space. You can check it out, of course, everything that we have going on, and be a part of the show if you like to by going to coxinspace.com. Click on the Discord link on the bottom and come join us here and have a chat about what you would like to talk about. I'm pretty pretty on board for most conversations, so invite you to come along with. We are a behind-the-scenes podcast for Cox in Space, so it is at coxinspace.com, where you can check out all the information. Check out the new video clip that we have up there. As you see, this video clip that we're working on here. We're moving forward, getting real close to the end here, so we're going to be doing some minor things just to get the pieces all made up here. So that we can get the talking to happen, a little bit of arm movement and whatnot. Glad that you could join us, and I'm sure that you're glad to be seeing this finally come to a conclusion, as I am. We have just a little bit left here, and we had a meeting last night about where we're going with this, what's happening next, and so I'm pretty excited about what we're looking at, who we're looking to approach, and the studios that we're looking to work with. We have that in play. If you are connected with people and would like to see us work with your studio, you can always reach out again at coxinspace.com. You can do that there. This show to me is a show that cannot die, as in not that it should not die, but it just seems to not be able to want to. So I did start as a live show 17 years ago, and since that time has only continued. It did start as a live show, and we did it, but it was actually intended at that time to be a puppet show. That's what I initially wanted it to be, so that we could get the element of cartooniness in it, since we couldn't do a live cartoon. But then, it stuck in Aaron Cosbill's brain, and he continued to ruminate on it, and the lore developed more and more until it became the show that is under development now. We're excited to see where it's going, what's going to happen next. We're actually going to be taking the next steps to there's a word, and I knew it before I started talking to you about it, but we're going to there it is, word treatment. We're going to do a treatment for the rest of the season, so that as we pitch it, we can let people know what's in store for them for this first season, and then what we look at as far as like the whole overarching story. Now we do have a George that we're using. The George is a story calculator that we're using, that is the appropriate size for the project we're working on, and that is something that we're relying on. So I'm not too concerned about being able to continue writing this show. And I just say not too concerned. All it takes is people to sit down and do the work. Is literally it. I mean, that's the beauty of having a story calculator, is that we don't have to be worried, and that we know that it's going to be still self-contained within the universe with the characters, as long as we continue to use the calculator, and it's set up that it can run indefinitely. We have internal mirrors set up too, so the first season mirrors itself, the second season would mirror itself, so it does that. And then there is a fractal structure, so each little piece is whenever you take a step forward, it's magnified into the whole of the project. So episode 2 is based off the second action, the second moment that happens in episode 1. And episode 3 is based off is mirrored and reflected, not mirrored. So I used the wrong word there. Um, is refracted into is based off the third moment that happens, and since we have so many moments, I could do the math. I have done the math before. I'm kind of forgetting the number right now as I'm talking to you. I think it's like 31, something like that. 31 moments. The number might be wrong there. Let's see. It's 10 plus 6 plus 16. Oh yeah, of course, 32, 64. Yeah, silly me. There's 31 unique, 32. No, it's less than that unique ones because it mirrors right in the middle of the 8. So it's 16 plus 8, it's 24. 24 unique moves per episode before the mirror hits. But that refraction that goes into the big piece is 64 pieces long. So we actually have the ability to do 64 episodes that are all based out of the first episode. So that takes us well into the 6th season. So nothing's dropped or forgotten, as it's always calling back the original work over and over again. Now you might wonder how that's possible, seeing as if you're trying to do it in like kind of a meta way, like a lot of writers will do, what you see on the surface. It can be very difficult to do that, without becoming super redundant or painting yourself into a corner too much. But with it's what a story calculator does is it just notes the 11 abstract pieces of every moment, and so allows you to create an abstraction, as well as looking at the specific itself. And so you can do the duality of both of those, where you are both abstract and specific. So you know what lore has come previously in the last 30 episodes or whatever, and then you have the abstract that reminds you of the first abstract that you used to kind of like hone that in again, as well as reminding you specifically not just that we're recalling anything, but we're recalling specific events and moments in the show. So that is very exciting. And then not only that, but it also is refracted in every single individual scene too. So as you go and push through the scenes are based off the moments, and so you have 64 moments that you do before you even begin to work on episode 2. And since episode 2 exists, you have another 64 moments from that point forward too. So there's plenty of content, and then of course the mirrors are set up so that the stories circle back on each other and circle back on themselves. It would be nice to know how long the run was gonna be. Like if we knew that we're gonna do like a limited run of like, say like Rick and Morty had, a 7-season run offered by Adult Swim. And just to know that it was going to be 10 seasons long, and that way we could put a mirror right in the middle of the 5th season, or at the end of the 5th season, and then it could mirror that way. But since we do have it set up that it could be running prolonged, I'm using something that I used when I created the Patty B, which is that the mirrors are in there, and that every season itself mirrors within itself, so you get story circles that exist there. Now, if all of this sounds real crazy to you, and you don't quite understand what it is I'm talking about, you can always check out Story Calculators on Reddit /r Story Calculators. It's a story theory that I've had developing since actually the first Cox in Space show. The first Cox in Space show was a very rudimentary story calculator. I didn't understand all the elements that went into it. But over the last 17 years, I've been continuing to work on that theory, and then wrote a workbook on how to do it for improvisers. Since we're getting a little break here in the process of doing Cox in Space, I might start working on the second book of how to do it, how to write prose, all prose like that, and then maybe a kind of defense. I don't know if that's quite the right word for it, but something that gives explanation as to why these things are necessary. Because I think, so I described in this first book, Making of the Moment, how to build one, and basically why I think it's necessary to delve into stories for improv, but not necessarily how all those pieces, why all these pieces are necessary to exist. I think that's one of the critiques that I've been getting back, although they have been few and far between. I think most people um, don't don't understand what it is that is even happening. Aaron has taken my word for it, which has been nice, but he has not necessarily been. But I don't know how much he really understands what it is that we're doing. While we're working on it, and to the extent that to make comments on it. And my editor, who was my dad, who was looking at the book, I don't know if he understood writing enough, although he's a voracious reader, so it kind of mystifies me. But I don't know if he understood writing enough or cared enough to comment on the thought itself. He's a creative person, but he doesn't want to create necessarily. He does like to consume the work of other people. So I had assumed that he would that it would be interesting to him to follow to test a philosophy in that, but I was mistaken. So the people who have read it, there have been. Mainly, it seems that it's not generally understood why what I'm doing is necessary. Why I feel like the components are necessary to make up a moment in that way. When most people argue that you can just, if you want to write, you can just write whatever you want to. And I agree that people can write whatever they want to. I don't disagree. I think that people should. As I am a big proponent of people's free will and them exercising their free will, and so I do agree that people that they can write whatever they want to. But the argument that I've been laying out and trying to make understood is that if you write whatever you want to, it doesn't always hold together in the way that your readers wish. For getting from point A to point B in a way that's both interesting and doesn't lose any pieces along the way. Now, this all came, interestingly enough, from a class that I took in high school, and more interestingly enough, a class that I missed in high school, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So we had a guest speaker come in one day, and I can't remember. I think if this is the right time period, I may or may be incorrect, but I had just gone through a pretty bad emotional blow. The short story is that I was wildly in love with somebody, and they led me to believe that they were also, only to turn around and then demonstrate clearly that they were not, which was a fantastically wild thing to deal with. I was in just in a huge tailspin, and I had been taken out to lunch that day, I believe, is what happened. I can't quite recall actually what maybe it was an appointment, dentist appointment or something. Maybe I'm being too dramatic with this story. What went down essentially is we had a guest speaker who was a professional writer, novelist, and that person told the class that this one thing. Apparently they had lectured for a while, and it was very, very good. And my teacher, who saw in me the ability to write, or the desire to, I believe that it was Miss Hall. If anybody wants the specific reference, I think that's who it was. And she had this guest speaker, and she said it was a terrible thing that I'd missed him. And because she said he was so insightful, and she felt that it would help me a lot too. And so I asked her what was it that she found so insightful about him, and she said this one thing. She said the thing that he commented on is that in any work there should be no extra pieces. In that everything should all be integrated. A story should all be integrated into itself, and there should be nothing extra, and there should be nothing missing. And everything that you see, is necessary to the telling of the story. And that, I mean, that really blew me away. I'd never heard anything along those lines. And that concept was absolutely wild to me. The works that I had read previously most often were either sci-fi, which was long and meandering. It was more about quantity than it is about quality with most sci-fi and fantasy, in my opinion. But the thing and also the Bible, right? So I've read the Bible quite a bit, which is a very wise book, in that it has a lot of wisdom in it. But boy, is it all over the place, right? If you've ever read the Bible, there are in a lot of ways a lot of extra details in that book, and things that don't necessarily. You get beginnings but no middles and no conclusions. You get conclusions but no introduction. For instance, in the Gospels, right? You meet Judas. There's a character that there's two Judases as one of the apostles, and they go Judas, not Judas Iscariot. Is and it's just thrown in the text as if we're supposed to know, because if you haven't read the Gospels yet, you don't know why he's differentiating between the two of them, right? It's just in there. And so just random stuff like that, or again, any of the writings of any of the if you go through the histories, or you go through the prophets, or if you go through the poetry, right? It's not a cohesive book. It's all a bunch of hodgepodge, and it's things that weren't necessarily supposed to go together. Things you don't know the full context for, things they assume that because of cultural identity, but didn't realize it was going to be passed down for 2,000 years, stuff like that, right? So this was such a crazy concept to me that such a thing like that would exist. That you would need narrative structure, that you would need every piece to be necessary to what you're talking about. That you would need these things in order for a clear story to be told. And so that really it stuck with me. It really stuck with me. And again, it's so interesting that it was a class that I missed, and it was just this one sentence summary that made such a big impact on me. Because as I started studying improv, too, like formally in Chicago, that was the thing that was really bothering me about it, and that's the whole thrust of Making the Moment, is that most improv doesn't have a narrative structure. It's a lot of random chaos that is really funny, but doesn't necessarily add up to anything, and has a lot of extraneous pieces and whatnot. And I've always hated this finger. I'm going to take this finger out. I'm going to replace it with one of these fingers. I just don't like the look of it. It looks way too long. It's like E.T.'s finger. Although it's funny because he is actually an extraterrestrial to this planet. But but there's a big disagreement about that, especially as we've gotten into kind of the experimental writing. If you look at Burroughs, or if you read what's the book? Finnegan's Wake. There's just there, or On the Road. That these are considered classic books that people who have studied literature, they hold up it as being great examples. The Lord of the Rings is another one. That if you look at the structure of the book, there's just a lot of extra shit in there. It doesn't, like, you have to kind of, like, people will say with Finnegan's Wake, like, you have to like push through to kind of get the whole gist, you know. Um, Same thing with one of my favorite novels, A Hundred Years of Solitude, which it's a series of stories, but there's a lot of extra details in it because it's supposed to have this, like, you know, you're sitting around listening to your grandfather tell you these tall tales, and it does have a narrative arc to it. It has the, you know, people arriving at this place and then leaving this place, where all these tales take place. But you know, it's basically a collection of short stories. It's a really fun book. So I'm not, you know, that's what I'm saying about the other books too. Like, people love Lord of the Rings, so not shitting on Lord of the Rings. People love, you know, Finnegan's Wake. People love On the Road. They, you know, they find a lot of, you know, inspiration and whatnot from those. But you know, as far as like being like to that every piece is necessary, right? And that everything that you write in it, that it all, you know, it all adds up to something. It lacks that. The only time that I've actually seen that in a novel is Matthew G. Lewis's The Monk. And when I finished reading it, I remember just being absolutely blown away because, yeah, so I thought this has to be yellow. Because here was this guy who'd written this book, and you know, everything that was in it was used. Like, everything that you're told is it comes to fruition. It has importance. It has weight to it, and that was, you know, I was like, dang, you know, like, wow, you know, good job, that guy. Um, but yeah, you don't often see it. There's often so much. There's often so much in a novel, that, you know, or in most pieces of writing, that just they don't mean anything. They don't add up to anything. So um, Kitty, you gotta stop. You can't be doing this. And so, you know, I really sort of became obsessed with it, and I got dissatisfied with being in Chicago, and with, you know, in the place that you know, that I was, because of that, because it was just so, it seemed like what we were doing was absolute nonsense, and, you know, and in a lot of ways it is. And then I think what you see in a lot of comedy that happens today, now less so what you see on TV, but like definitely in like stage comedy, and this is one of the reasons why I feel like improv is not doing as well as I believe it could be or should be, is because of that reason. Is because, you know, what we're being served, what they serve is in general, is in nonsense. You know, and I feel it's just real disrespectful to the audience when you do this. It's because you don't respect the audience's intelligence. The gist that the thrust that I go for, what I talk about. Why is this not? Ah, in the book, in making the moment, is that, you know, the basic reason that people, you know, gossip, and the reason that language developed and stories began being told is because it was to convey information. And, you know, that is the reason that stories ever existed to begin with. That's like the history and the roots of it. You know, is for one person to share their experience, and the reason that another person listens to a story is because they're trying to gain experience from the other person. And so, um, in that, dang, I'm gonna have to recut that arm out. In that, you know, it's really necessary for us, you know, when we're as creators, to give our no, oh crap. Dang it. I'm gonna have to recut that out. I'm gonna have to remake it. Hopefully there's one here that I can do that with. I forgot how difficult it was to cut this thing out because of where it's at. Anyway, but that's that's the reason that people tell stories, and that's why whatever it is, whether it's a sales pitch or a letter or a novel or a sketch show or whatever, that it really should be done with respect to this original idea of why. And it's a theory, because I wasn't there obviously when stories were first invented, but it is the reason that that I would listen to a story, like why I'm tuned into what somebody says is because I'm trying to get some information out of it. I'm trying to. Damn, I have to redo all of that. Okay. And and I would say that most people are most people are the same in that regard. That we're like the same, like you're hearing me pause and hesitate, right? And if you're hearing me do that, what you're like is saying like yes, get to the point, yes, please finish that idea, so that either you can agree, disagree, or take some insight from it. That's what you want from it. And so I think that's only fair to whoever you're talking to, whoever you're giving information to, is to give them that. And so I begin to think about what belongs into Make Up a Moment, and found the pieces, as far as I can tell, that are all the pieces that you need in order to make a moment thoroughly, to imitate the nature of reality. And that was another thing that really I got obsessed with, was imitating the nature of reality, because stories didn't start out as fiction. They started out as the conveyance of fact. Oh, geez. So, if you want to tell a story that people want to hear, you need to look kind of like gossip, honestly. You need it to feel like that these elements don't exist. Why? Strictly in the these elements don't exist strictly within the context of this story. It exists in a place that it has all the levels of dimension that reality does. That this person doesn't exist for the sake of the story, but the story exists because this person is real. And the events occur not because they came from a person's imagination, but because they came from a very complex universe, where these things occurred. And so that's where the theory was born from, is that because nothing bothers me more than things being simple and contrived in a story, that you'd be like, yeah, I guess that makes sense because you need it to for the story, but like it doesn't really give us the feeling of like reality, where reality has all these extra little fractally bits. There's random things that occur. There's stuff that has nothing to do with the quote-unquote main character, because there's no such thing as a main character in reality. We're all kind of in this together, pushing and pulling against each other. And so with that, in mind. The fuck? Why is my clear background no longer clear? I'm gonna save it like this. Um, I don't like this at all. I do not like what is happening right now. I really need to, yeah, yeah, let me just quickly save this. So that's why I'm not worried, and that's one of the things we've been seeing with Cox in Space, is that, yep, this is what we're listening to right now, in case you're wondering, is that just do it. One of the things that's really cool about the George and story calculators in general is that it challenges the author to be to you can follow whatever plot you want to, but it challenges the author to put in things that add a level of complexity that make it feel real. It takes unexpected twists and turns. It forces the author or authors to take unexpected twists and turns in their ideas, writing things that challenge themselves, giving every character that exists a rich inner world because things come out of a place that's motivated by like regular stuff that we normally see. Okay, so it doesn't work at all now. Is that what we're doing? And that to me is one of the like just beautiful things about using a story calculator, is just that that you can have a plan, and then the characters demand that you treat them with the respect of like full humans, and that or like full beings, that have rich inner worlds, that have private histories that we know nothing about or that we're learning to explore, and then also that it isn't a bunch of random information, which it can be, if you're trying to do that in particular, but it's focused around specifically the real basic story that you wanted to tell, that you've agreed with yourself or with your team that you want to tell. And that, it's so simple, in fact, that I've been mocked. Like, I didn't feel like I needed to give a defense as to why, you would use such a simple idea to do it. But I've been mocked for being like, people are like, yeah, that's self-obvious. I'm like, yeah, it is. But in most cases, in most writing, it doesn't exist, to have a simple story and then have a counter story running to it, so that you have actually two stories that are working directly in opposition to each other. So you have you've created conflict that's inherent to the thing itself and not contrived and applied from the outside because you need a certain amount of events to occur. That you don't just make stuff up because you need conflict, but the conflict comes from a place that is like brewed into the characters and the situations themselves, things that directly oppose one another, so that it can happen. And again, people for some reason they love to hate this idea so much. I'm not sure why. Like, I've tried to introduce it to a number of people, to like introduce the idea that writing can be very simple. Like, when you begin to understand the nature of what's required to make compelling stories, it becomes a very simple task. It's literally just taking it one step at a time and being like, what's the next thing that makes this compelling? What's the next thing that what forces are pushing against each other? In just the same way as I think once you understand the physics of building a house, it becomes very easy to build any type of house, because you understand what needs to push and pull against each other, so you can get the physics to make the house stand. Because houses don't want to stand naturally. Materials all want to fall to the earth, and it's only by having them exert force against each other that you can make any structure that you want. And like I said, for some reason, people really, really hate when I try to let them know that story structure is very quite simple actually. Once you understand what is happening and what's necessary, and I'm sure it will be that way for a long time. But yeah, every time that I introduce the idea to either a group of creative improvisers, which is the main community that I was hoping to reach, that I am hoping to reach still, or to someone who writes or thinks of themselves as a writer, which sometimes it's more important to think of yourself as a writer than to actually write, right? Um, they get very upset, and I've been accused of being like talking down to them because I'll try to simplify it in the easiest way possible, and I will be accused of like that these things already exist, and I'll be like, yeah, they do. God damn it, they do, but most people don't use them. Um, like this. Most people only have some of the things that I've introduced in a story calculator, and not all of them. And or some people have an abstract concept of, say, two opposing stories, but they don't integrate it into every single moment that exists through the entire story. And or you're taking all the creativity out of it by bringing it down to a structure, or I just like to free write is another one that I've gotten a lot. um, you know and you know it's okay. I understand. I understand why people don't want to. I imagine that when they initially were trying to introduce the musical scale and tuning to instruments so that people would tune all to the same notes, that there was a lot of kickback from a lot of the musicians that existed at that time, because before that, everybody could play whatever notes they wanted to. It was just you tried to by ear figure out where your notes fit and play them with the other people around you. Since the introduction of scales and common tuning is fairly new. I think, if I remember right, it's like the 15 or 1600s. So throughout human history, right, mostly people are doing whatever they want to, and they're kind of like freestyling, tuning their instruments how they want to, playing them how they want to. And so, it was just really when they wanted to get together and all play together that, it became necessary to recognize that, hey, there's a set of rules that we can agree to, in order to get this all to work together, to create intentionally and create music together. And so I feel like there's probably, at that time, there's a lot of pushback. I haven't really done the reading on that. I will in writing this book do the reading on that, to look at how people responded to that. How they responded isn't really that interesting to me. And knowing human nature is why I make that supposition, is that people want to do whatever they want to. They don't want to be told that in order to work together we have to find common ground, and that's really what the story calculator is about, is finding a common ground so we can have common language to use as and build stories more along the lines of like you would the rules, using the rules of physics to build a house, or the rules of music to build a symphony, so that all the instruments can play together, because they all understand what key we're playing in, and how that scale works, and all of that. But yeah, it's right now in the course of history, it's pretty commonly hated by anyone who knows about it, or just written off as an unnecessary thing by those who don't know about it, or have decided that they'd rather just free form whatever they want to, make up whatever stories they want to. I guess the thing that I'm getting is that most people aren't as annoyed by stories that are closer to children's dreams than they are to something that like a cathedral. and what I want to see more commonly in stories, because it annoys me so much, is that people are building cathedrals with their characters and words. That all the physics of the story are pushing together to create these monumental masterpieces that are ageless instead of just temporary distractions. Um, and that's just me, just desiring it to be a little less chaotic of a world. Just because stories that have Lord of the Rings is a great example, that has just so much going on in it and so many extraneous details. The counter argument that I've heard, of course, from people who love Lord of the Rings is that that's the flavor. That's why you read it. It's this meandering story that has all this extra stuff that you can absorb the culture, you can absorb the songs and the recipes, and all of that, and just go along and not have to think about them any longer. You can kind of just glaze, I don't know, traipse through the pages, and enjoy the experience of this rich world. And my argument is that, yeah, you absolutely should be enjoying the experience of the rich world, but as a person who absorbs the information and then tries to put it together in some sort of semblance of where it's going and what's happening, I find those novels, that literature, very, very difficult to read, because I'm often just looking at the big picture, right? Like what are they trying to tell me, and what does it all mean? And maybe that's a flaw with me. Maybe that's asking too much, or something, of literature to be realistic, as if it were actual events. But I feel like it affects people in negative ways all the time. In that people in general seem to not be able to tell stories, or seem to be able to convey information. They just don't seem to be able to clearly differentiate what is relative information and what is unnecessary facts. And so they'll drone on and on and on. And this is particularly, I've been in the South for almost a decade now, and they'll just drone on and on and on about all these extra details. And I'm taking in the entire story and trying to figure out where all these little details go, and I can't for the life of me figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to do with this information. And mostly it turns out generally that it's small talk, and that it's not actually supposed to mean anything, and that just annoys the shit out of me. Just unnecessary words, just because for me it's generally it's so difficult for me to pay attention to something with so much else going on, that I'm hoping that the information you're giving me is something I can actually use, and not just because you wanted to move your lips and breathe out words. And so I find it just so bothersome to listen to that information. The cult that I was in for the while that I was there, they had this preacher who was in charge of everything, who loved to hear himself talk, and so he would talk for 2-3 hours on a Sunday morning, vaguely about the Bible, vaguely about God and Jesus and salvation, vaguely hitting on those topics, but it never really went anywhere, or rather it went kind of everywhere. He had no idea how to make a point, or how to convey what it was, that was what it was that he was claiming to talk about. It was so wild to me. Definitely, people would be all razzed up because they would be following him emotionally, and only listening to the last 15 or 30 seconds of stuff that he had said, and taking that in, and then it being oh, he's such a great, he's so powerful, he's so moving, and I'd be I don't think, is it me? I don't understand a goddamn thing that he's saying. So it is funny like that. And then, as I really was listening to him, I was like, he's not saying anything. He's literally not saying anything. But I think that that's really unhealthy. I think that came from, a place that, he's seen a lot of TV and he's heard a lot of preachers, that they don't actually say anything. They have no actual content. And so it's been allowed and excused and even justified, as being like, powerful, when in actuality it's anything but. It's really it's absolute nonsense. So it's not strictly for that reason. In fact, the story calculator was well within development. There's only a couple of other things I changed, after that experience. Um, but yeah, that was definitely one of the ones where I was like, it's so dangerous to let people think that, doing and saying whatever you want to, constitutes the conveyance of information, or a story, because it literally doesn't. It literally does not. And I think in a lot of ways it hurts people's brains, because then it's wiring all this information, just random information, together. And I don't know if it creates ADD, but it definitely, like, it just makes people more prone to not be able to connect thoughts, because it's the way that they're used to, receiving information. It's the way that it's being cataloged in their brain. I wouldn't claim that it makes ADD, but I would say that it probably exacerbates, the way that the ADD brain works, because of that. Um, and people will blame things like SpongeBob, right, for being responsible for this. But if you look at SpongeBob generally has a narrative arc. you know, it might be a bunch of random zaniness, but like there's a series of events that occur that start in one place and end in the opposite place, or a place that's relatively opposite. Whew. Oh, it hit me out of nowhere. My apologies. Um, so I don't think it's that. I do think that, it does come from the common type of writing. Journalistic writing is one of them. It can be too. That, they are putting a bunch of words together to get information across, but they'll be speaking more linearly. One event, another event, another event, a third event, but not necessarily like wrapping it up, into one big conclusion. And it does take skill to do that. And I think that, people will often attribute it to luck or instinct, without understanding that it can be done intentionally, if you want to. And that's what story calculators are good for, is doing it intentionally, recognizing the fractal nature of reality, and how things like from the echo from the small to the large, and they're all kind of like hooked into each other, because of that. Things do circle back on each other, in physics, that things go up, and to the same proportion that they go up, they come down, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, it's designed to do that. It's designed to take on, to have a story, make sure that a story has a natural shape to it, when people are telling them. So, yeah, so I'm excited to have this show on the air, and not real worried about the fact that we're going to lose the thread or whatever. As long as people want to watch it, we'll be able to we'll keep building on the same idea, for the entire length of the show. So that's a real big deal, to me personally, because who knows how long that will last for. um, I know that, they did not expect to show The Simpsons, for instance, for what is it, 40 years now. They, I'm sure they hoped. Yeah, I'm sure that Matt Groening hoped to have a long-running show, but, to the extent that it has been long-running, ugh, But you know, the Simpsons is not a great example of good writing. It is a good example of funny writing, and it's you know, part of the culture, and it definitely has interior story arcs. But you know, they it's a sketch. Every new episode is a new sketch. They reset in between episodes, and it's a classic way to do it. So there's nothing wrong with that. But like, you know, it's not. The lore expands but doesn't necessarily build on each other. Maggie stays the same age forever, for instance, right? You know, they've shown Bart and Lisa in the future, but we're living in that future now. We should see Bart and Lisa at that age by now. And you know, I really I wish that we had. I wish we had seen the continuing adventures of the Simpsons as they grow and mature, and not this place where Bart is forever 8 or whatever. Uh, and no sneezing at the style of show that it is. But you know, I think that in a lot of ways, I think that people deserve more. You know, they if we're gonna have this family that we've been following for so long, that there should be like deep lore, and not just a bunch of zany references, in my opinion. But again, that's just my opinion about how things should work, and not necessarily how they are. And like I said, a lot of people disagree with me. It does make a lot of people angry to mention that these things should exist. So, you know, maybe I'm wrong in that. It's a possibility. It's a possibility that you know, stories aren't supposed to work this way. That it's not supposed to be. That's not really the way that people want information. But I would argue that it is. uh, and mainly I have one it's really anecdotal, but it's me. I want information to be conveyed this way for my own sake, and not just because I think it's cool, but because it hurts my brain to think about think about stuff otherwise. So you know, that is what it is, and that is what it is. But Cox in Space is a show that it will keep continuing, and the lore is going to deepen and continue to deepen the longer that it's on. And again, it's not just a zany anecdotes. The events that affected them early on are going to keep affecting them. This gravity well, for instance, and you know, I'm excited to see what this whole thing with dark matter is happening. The thing that's cool, is that we're seeing that it's happening at the climax, in ways that we weren't even expecting. It's really taken on this really interesting and profound depth to it, that didn't exist in Aaron's original conception of it. And that's wholly in part to the story calculator. I don't think that Aaron or I are so deep that we could think of the cool things that have occurred to heighten the idea of this gravity well and the expansion of dark matter. But the story calculator insists that we don't forget about it, and insists that we come back to it and explore it and delve it more. I think that the reason people don't do this, generally, is because they feel like, you know, they're going to run out of ideas. That, you know, if they try to push an idea too far, that it won't be there for them. And the story calculator really insists that that it is fractal. That the more that you zoom in, the more that you're going to find a whole another level of reality. And you know, that's I think that's one of the reasons why people don't really believe it, is because they don't believe that something that's from their own mind can do that. And I do. I mean, I believe that the human mind is as complex as reality itself, because it is reality. You know, that's how it's made up of all the things that the rest of the universe is made up of. It's this very deep fractal. And you know, not to speak too abstractly, but like a fractal is the more you zoom into a thing, the more you see the same thing repeated over and over again. That you begin to see the same patterns emerge that existed in previous spots. And so if you do something right, that you can create these fractals, then then you can do that. I think that if you haven't set up your dynamics properly, that you can't do it. Um, I will point out that Mandelbrot, who was really interested in the idea of fractals, wasn't able to prove that they existed until the 80s. So yeah, I agree that this is a fairly new concept. That such a thing could exist, and that that the universe itself is made up of these things. But the more that we've looked at the structure of the universe, both macro and micro, the more that we see that it is in fact like this. The galaxies, the spirals of the galaxies, fit the same shape and spiral of the human cells. The patterns that we see there exist in so many different places. I mean, there's a reason that the animals all have similar shapes: a head, legs, a tail, arms and a tail, like that. And that almost across the board. We see that is because they all seem to fit a basic structure that's necessary. So and just so this as far as like understanding that we are in a fractal reality, I think is a newer concept historically speaking. Now I think that the idea of fractals, they were called little monsters in math. They were running into these in the 14 and 1500s. I think that's where he was studying from, where he kind of got obsessed with the idea too. Was from the writers and thinkers at this time. But I don't think that people really understood, because we didn't have microscopes, that they weren't really understanding that yeah, this is the nature of reality. But he was the one who wrote the How Long's the English Coastline, which is the more closely you measure the English coastline, the longer it becomes. Because when you use a more exact measurement, it turns out that there's actually more there, and it's only because of our approximations that we thought that we could come up with that. And it turns out that the universe itself is kind of immeasurable. We just have to take like a degree of finality in order to get some kind of result, and just agree that it's good enough. There's an old example of a fly trying to reach a piece of bread, and if the fly goes half the distance towards the bread, then there's still half a distance to go, and that if they go half the distance again, there's still half a distance to go, and this goes on and on and on to infinity, that there's always another half distance that it could go. But the fly, of course, gets close enough that it can touch the bread. That half distance becomes like negligible, and so we kind of get rid of it. But that doesn't mean that there isn't still a half distance to go, or that the fractal nature of reality isn't there and inherent as part of the situation. It's just that for that fly, it no longer is relevant. And so that's the same way I believe that we can, when we imitate the interior of our brain and we imitate the gossip that we see, I think that without a story calculator, we can definitely create stories that have complex characters and worlds that feel very real. And I think there's some very talented writers that don't necessarily need like a device like this to make that occur. But I think that those are few and far between. And just like I think that there are musicians that could play together by ear, and since they knew their own instrument and knew where those notes would occur on their own instrument, they didn't need scales, they didn't need to know the keys. They would just know what notes they had to play, and they would match it to the notes they're hearing their friends play. But those, I believe that those are few and far between. And for me, a story calculator is about making it possible for anyone to then tune in and to write stories that have these fractal shapes to it. It is about leveling the playing field in regards to let's take this one here. in regards to who can create stories that have depth and have rich characters and have rich worlds. I want to level the playing field because I am an idiot, and it is tough for me to do things like that because I don't inherently think that way. I think in a lot of like abstracts. So it is definitely difficult for me to do those things. Um, there's a way to get the white to leave this, but I don't want to take out all the white, so I guess I'm just gonna do it this way. Um, and so yeah, it's very easy for me, for instance, to get off track, to follow a narrative thread or follow a character thread, to put in details that I think are interesting but don't necessarily compel the story and move that forward. To not thoroughly understand what the audience needs to understand in order to get across the idea that I'm trying to convey. I run into this problem. I think we've talked about it, at great length. You know what I'm gonna do? I think I'm just gonna take it from this one and put it on that one. I think I've talked about it in great length in the last probably couple episodes. In just like I'm not often understood by people around me. The heuristic difference between me and somebody else is can be quite large. And so I think that I'm making perfect sense to me, but I'm not taking into account the common experience and all that. So and that's on me. I'm not, and there's no one to blame but me. I'm the one who is trying to express an idea. Um, no, why, why do this to me? Um, yeah, and so that's why for me it's just so necessary to make something that makes sure that I keep relating it back to a common human experience, that I keep relating it back to what makes characters work. Okay, is that reason? It's just I haven't had common human experiences. I feel like cultural experiences and whatnot. I haven't consumed a lot of the same media that I don't have like a knee jerk of how things are supposed to be told to get you from A to B. I have met some people who do have this, and I just so jealous of them, like in the best possible way, like in the admiration kind of way, and not the the distaste for them kind of way. I'm just like, wow, that's just so cool that you know what information people are looking for, and and you give it to them so that they can understand you, and that like that's just just a desire to be better is all. So because I'm not real good. I'm not real good at that. So but that's why for this show I'm excited that we have that as a backdrop to what we're working on and to what we're pitching, that I don't have to be I have to be mindful, but I don't have to be worried about missing the missing the step that people need, or creating characters that are relatable. And that is just a huge relief. It was the reason that like I felt like I never really did good at improv when I was studying it, is because it does take a lot of context to understand what I mean and who I am, and I have to have a partner who is willing to explore that with me and to ask questions and to not just be trying to be as zany as possible too. And so that can be hard to find for a number of reasons. I make other people's lives difficult for sure by being this way. and it does require patience to keep up with me. Um, but also, other people are wrapped up in their own bullshit, you know, and so they don't have the time to do that. They need someone to clearly convey information to them too, so that they understand what to do and how to do it. And so, if I'm not helping them in that way, then it's the two of us then running off the rails together. So. And I feel like that's a common problem with a lot of creative teams and individuals, and especially you see it, in improv, especially because of how raw it is, just how that you're seeing raw creativity take place, and there's no time in between the idea and the performance. So there's no time to clean it up, no time to rethink it, no time to restructure it. You just see you see what the human brain is capable of, and so when it's untrained, again, it's when you see absolute chaos. And I've seen absolutely fantastic teams. I've seen absolutely amazing improvisers, take the stage and do this really chaotic style of improv, that it absolutely will make you laugh. And so people will say that that I dislike improv, or that like that I don't understand with a purpose, and I do. I just think that it can be greater, and that it can be greater, and should be. And it's really, and the reason I say should be is because if you have an audience who's paid whatever they paid for the show, you really owe it to them. You really owe it to them to do something that makes sense, to do something that they can take away, and they can consider, and that in the same way as anybody who ever listened to a story, they were listening for something for them. It's the artist's responsibility to give their audience something that can inspire, that can change them, that can make them feel comforted. I don't say that it's necessarily all those things, but I'm saying that you have to give them something real. Oh, damn it! You have to give them something real to take home, so that they can take whatever experience they need to out of that. And I think that's what great art really does, is that not that it gives them a person one thing, but it imitates reality enough to give the audience whatever it is that they need to take from it. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and inference is in the eye of the audience. And I think that's really necessary. God damn it. I think that's really necessary. Like, if you're going to make any art whatsoever, that you need to give the audience something. You need to. They're paying you for a service, right? And the service is an experience that they can take with them. And I think that if you're not doing that, you're selling cheap goods, basically. You're short selling your audience. And the artistic sense of justice, it just doesn't sit right with me. I think that you need to be giving your audience something, for God's sakes. Give them something that they can bank on. Give them something that they can think about, once they're gone, that they can either wonder, delight, amuse, something that in, where is it? Something that in their experience, is it not? It's okay. That they can do something with. There's that unfortunately is incredibly vague, but it's because not every story has to have a happy ending. Not every story has to be profound. But it does have to be. It has to be something. And it has to be something that that hits the human experience, so that people can treat it the same way as they would gossip, as they would, getting information from your fellow traveler or hunter or whatever. Um, so that when they leave whatever place it is, that they're carrying with them a new experience that they didn't have uh, when they left. And novelty, I mean, novelty is one thing. You could totally be selling novelty. That's a thing, absolutely, for sure. um, but I wonder if with improv and with most art, if they're even selling that. um, and most times, is that even what the audience wants, is novelty. Because something can be unique and absolutely useless, you know what I mean, to the audience. So, um, but giving them something to characters to mourn, or characters to have rooted for, you've given them something, you've given them an experience that they can take home. And so, yeah, that's why, to me, it's very important to convey stories. That's actually why I'm working on and finishing this bit of Cox in space right here. It's because what this does, when you get Luna's information, is it introduces the mystery at the beginning, and then comes back and she explains what the mystery is that the pussies are so fat because they're filled with sadness, and because they're filled with sadness, they're overeating, and that has made the planet very heavy. It's not how physics works, but it's how physics works in our reality. Um, I mean, I don't think that's how physics works. I don't think that you could actually get so fat, that you could get all of them so fat that could be happening. But it was, I think I've shared this before, but it is an analogy about how depression can overweigh you so much that it sinks you into a place like a gravity well. Because I wrote this first show when I was heavily depressed. And so that was where the inspiration came from. Um, and you know and it has a kind of silly take on how to get out of it. But it is about working together, and how love is the thing that solves it. Um, we do an interesting thing in this episode, um, where um, we find out that the person who is depressed and is trying to destroy the world is doing it for a good reason. As far as they're concerned. So I think that that's a really cool twist with it, that like that people get depressed, and they try to hurt others because they think that they have a good reason to do it. And that to me, it was not what I was expecting, for sure, from it when we wrote this episode. But it does make a lot of sense, when you think about like how like the nature of evil is that it's rarely malicious, and often dumb. It's short-sighted and greedy more than it is vindictive. Not to say that evil is not vindictive, but in a lot of cases. But um, bullies more often are people who have been hurt by other people, and they have felt powerless, and so they start hurting other people to regain their power. For instance, this needs a shadow. It does not have a shadow. So I'm not as nearly as good an artist as Jack is. He is very talented, and I in comparison to the amount of time he had put into his drawing, I'm more of a hack. But I will say that working on his work has made me better because I gotten to see. Dang, that needs to be wider. Um, I've gotten to see what it is that's kind of necessary. Like, like you look at his feet and you're like, oh, those are all in shadow. These all need a shadow. And trying to imitate his work has made me be like, oh, okay, cool. So there's more to it. Obviously, he has a tablet, and so he gets these nice little like pressure points and whatnot that I am not getting. And he got more of a clean line, or like this shadowy line. I think that it's because, but I have enjoyed. There's more to it. It needs the lines in there too. I did. It's such a flat color. I'm not so worried about it, although it's here too. Because you're not even going to see their feet. I think I decided I'm going to do it close, but yeah, that's what I thought. He didn't color the back either. Ah, yes, the wiener. The wiener doesn't have any color on it, and also, okay. Also, it's a different shape. So you're not really supposed to do this. I'm doing it like you would do a coloring book. You are really supposed to bring the lines up over top and color underneath the lines, but I think this will work for us. But yeah, no, I am really excited to take the Coxa space for the next step, and seeing where that goes and what it's doing next. That was what we've been talking about. We got together and meet about, and we're going to continue brainstorming how, where, and what that looks like, so that we can get this in front of more people. Because at the end of the day, that to me is the most important thing. Is that it is about us getting seen for sure, and that we can make this a job and whatnot. But also that the message of spreading happiness across the universe is an essential one. I think even more so than it ever has been. Like the message to be kind to one another is a necessary one. And to do what we can, take care of ourselves, take care of other people, because boy, do we need it in today's day and age. So is there a darker side? There's not. Let's see if I can't figure out how to do this darker one, because it looks like it's a backside there. Same thing with here. That's lit. This and then take it down just a hair like that. Okay, this is gonna be tricky because of the way that this is all like that, but again, we're not gonna see it that closely probably because we're gonna do a close-up. I am more worried about the top part. In some ways it does bum me out that Jack didn't have the time to finish this, because her dressing room really could have had some really cool details in it too. And it's not that he didn't have the time, but it's just he ran out of time because I needed to start working on the animation, and needed to not be, meeting with him, a couple of nights of the week to get this done. And I had started a new relationship too at that time, and so and I was here in Knoxville trying to get things started with everything, and so I was just trying to prioritize time, which is fine. Even though that ended up not working out in the way that I was thinking that it would, it's fine the way that it worked, because things did need to move along with it, and then I needed to change focuses so I could have the time to do this. because between this, that, and the other, and working, you can lose time real quickly if you're not careful. So, um, no, yeah, buddy. I'm gonna do a shorter one today because the cats are gonna want to get fed, and then I need to get down to the gym. But I think I'm gonna try to get back on uh, tonight, although I have to review Deep Blue Sea for this weekend because I know that it's coming up on Sunday and won't have a whole lot of time seeing as tomorrow's Saturday. I tried to watch it on my day off, and I decided not to. I think because I was doing this instead. But that's just an example, right, of like how time will just get away from you between this, that, and the other. So, all right. I got this here. I'm gonna do that. Well, yeah, no, I appreciate you joining me today and hanging out as we work on the Cox and Space, work on this together. Um, it's one little step at a time, and that's just the nature of any project. You just take one little step at a time. So that's what we're doing here today. That's the mission of doing it. Just take one little step forward. So, um, and that's with anything like any change that you want to make, anything that you, oh god damn it, anything that you want to accomplish is one little step at a time. And so, if you're doing that thing, whatever that thing is, just it's not going to make itself. You have to make it, and then also you have to dedicate yourself to completing it. And then that's true with any relationship that you have. A creative project to me is a type of relationship because you have to spend time caring for it. Also, you have to see what it is. You have to listen to what it's telling you it is. You have to be willing to recognize when you're wrong, and own up to that, and then do your best to come back and fix it. So yeah, I think that people think that since they're dealing with themselves, that they don't have to show themselves care, because it's their idea, right? They should be able to make it however they want to, and yes, you can, but also I don't think that's true. I think that's gonna stay like that. Because anything you create, it suddenly, as soon as it's real, is no longer yours. It belongs to the universe, and it falls to the universe's rules. And so, and that's what like us talking about the fractal nature of reality. Like, it has to follow the same type of physics that exists around us in order for us to believe that it's real. So yeah, I mean, it is your idea. It is your project, but it has to find its place in the world, to keep existing. Otherwise, it will die. Um, and I think that's why creative projects do die, is that they don't find their place in the universe. They don't fit. Often, I think because people are trying to make them be something that they aren't, or that doesn't exist in reality. So, let's see if we can't clean all of these up. This music's a little loud right now. It's probably been loud the whole time, but it's a little loud right now. Still a little loud. Okay, so looking good. I do need to put his yellow bits in there too. Do these. And this last panel, it really is, it's a shame that we're closing on this last panel, so I'm going to try to make it the best I can. And only because I don't, it's not Jack's best work, for sure. That, you know, he is capable of so much more than this. But you know, we ran out of time. We didn't have the ability to make it to the quality that we had been reaching for. Um, you know, and I know that's true with it can be true with so many projects. So it's like it's a thing that, you know, I can accept it being what it is, and then also that's why I'm like, ah, yeah, I see where we failed the project a little bit, um, by by you know, through the entire project, not really necessarily just at the end, but just like not respecting the fact that, you know, there was a deadline, that there was time. I don't think that that was ever uh, you know, I think that it happened that you know, it was thought of as like you know, it's a thing that you know, maybe, you know, it'll be happen someday somewhere, and not that it was something that really needed to be done and to be completed. And I think that's, you know, most people approach creative projects that way. It's like it's nice to work on something, but like, you know, it doesn't really matter if it goes somewhere. Um, and just for me, it's like, well, you know, if it doesn't go somewhere, then why the hell are we working on it? Like, if we're not planning to get this to in front of an audience and to reach people with it, then what's even the point? You know, that's why, you know, for Storycraft, for me, it was just like, you know, yeah, you can do improv for fun. Absolutely, you can enjoy the fuck out of getting on stage and making people listen to you talk utter nonsense. Absolutely. You know, that's you can definitely charge people for that. Like art is what you can make money on, I think is what Andy Warhol said. Art is what you can charge people for, I think is what it is. But I think that, you know, if you're really going to be self-respecting, right? Like you know, you want to be the type of artist that, you know, and this is where I come from with it, is that like at the end of my life I can look back and be like, yeah, I did the best that I could. I created things for people with the respect for my audience. You know, I gave them something to think about, to look back on, to cherish, to get them out of, you know, the situations, that the thought situations that they're in, to inspire them. You know, um, that's the type of art that I'm wanting to create. Um, and maybe that's too highfalutin for a commercial market, maybe. But I don't think it is. I think that there you can hit that sweet middle ground, right? You can entertain, and you can bring people something worthwhile. Uh, I think that you can be sensational and be profound. Um, I think that it's possible, and so, you know, that's where I'm like, yeah, you know, let's create the funnest idea possible, full of innuendo that also has a heart to it, you know, and that's where Cox and Space is at, and that's why I love it so much. Oh god damn! I cut out that thing that's attaching those things, but I need to move that hand because I need that hand to move. Um, well, okay. Also need to take his beak out. All right, but yeah. So, uh, I don't think that's grandiose in any kind of way. I know that could probably sound that way, um, but I think that it's also it's not. it's not that I think that I will achieve that. I think that that would be, self-grandiose, or thinking highly of myself. Um, but it's what I desire to do. That my goal isn't low. That I desire to do something of high caliber. And so that's a big difference, I think, between the narcissist who thinks that they do great things all the time, and someone who's really striving for quality. Is recognizing that, hey, I'm not there. I haven't hit that yet, and I don't know if I ever will hit that. I don't know if it's possible to hit that. What I want to get, but I am going to strive for that as much as humanly possible, so that I can get as close as possible to this ideal of perfection. Um, and I think that that is really important, um, to make great art. Is that you recognize that you probably aren't going to be able to do it. um, but that doesn't stop you in any kind of way, from reaching for it. And man, because it's necessary, because that just as the same way as a master craftsman of any sort should be striving to do the absolute best work that they can, for their customers and for their own self-respect. That oh, that's why it's not working. So should an artist is be doing that. I don't think that you get off the hook because you're making art. People will be like, well, it's my idea. This is what I can this is what I turned out, so it must be good enough. And I'm like, man, you don't get a pass just because we're making art. you know like it has to be the sort of thing as if you were building a house or a boat, or any sort of thing. You're making a product that it has to stand the test of time. It has to be user friendly. um, it has to be useful. you know like I think that the people like to think of art as like extraneous, and I think that's why people don't really respect art forms. And improv being a great example of where I'm at personally, is that I think that when people get on stage and waste the audience's time with their jib jab and just absolute disrespect for any like sort of semblance of like the show making sense, right? Then you've absolutely disrespected the art form of comedy, the art form of storytelling, the art form of theater. That you tell the audience in so many ways that they're not worth making quality work for. And I just uh, it's a disrespect to everyone who does it. Um, so that's what I'm saying. Reach higher. you know, try more to reach. And I don't think that that's an arrogant thing to say. I just say that people who, if you want to be respected, you have to be respectable. you know if you want people to respect you, you have to respect them. um if you want to be, if you want to just put out garbage, don't be mad that people are they see you as garbage. um that's just so silly. I mean, and it seems self-obvious, um, that the higher you push yourself to reach, in whatever you're doing, the more people, the better you can put out, the better products that you can put out, and the more people can have the opportunity to respect that. So because if otherwise it's just why why would they respect shoddy craftsmanship? And that's it obviously takes time. It takes the ability it takes skill to master things. So don't be discouraged if you're not straight away doing it, but um, it's still is a still like the highest goal. Let's see if there's a color of his backpack. Because I feel like, yeah, this has a dark spot on it. That's what I thought. Well, it's been quite a rant today, friends. And I'm not quite finished, but we're gonna be wrapping it up here pretty soon. We're about 90 minutes in. Um, so maybe a half hour more, maybe something like that. Um, but yeah, no, all of this is really to inspire you, and not to critique you. I know that it sounds critical, and it is critical of things I've seen. But the goal is really to be like, when you feel down and you feel like, I want to give up, that the just to remember what the goal is to continue pushing forward. And because you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to your audience, and you owe it to the present and future creators of that art, whatever it is, to do the best that you can. Because the easiest way to kill something is by doing it poorly, and then insisting that's what the default setting is poorly done work. So um, and it can be hard. That's the thing, is that it can be hard, and you'll definitely want to give up, and you'll definitely want to not give your best every day. But know that it's not that there's a lot on the line, but know that there are a bunch of people who are looking at it as an example, future, past, present, and future. I don't know about past, probably not past, but present, present and future, who are looking at it as an example, and doing it for them, as well as yourself. Doesn't he have like brown eyes or something? Literally, I'm sorry. I really don't like the eyes, this character's eyes, like at all. Um, right? Because they look like that normally, you know what I'm saying? And then they're just drawn as just like, I don't know, some shape. Let's see if I can't take him from here maybe and size him up. Just, I don't, it's so hard to, anyway. Um, I mean, because these are just such cool eyes, you know what I mean? This is just such good work. Um, and the one that is here, see comparatively, like it's here, it's just not good work. And, and I don't like it. Um, it's what we got, but I don't like it. So I'm gonna do what I can to change it. So it is the type of work. See that right there? That even, I mean, it's not even complete yet, and that just looks better. I do need to rotate it though, so the shiny part's up. And let's do the opacity at like 40. Nope, that's not the one. Let's do the opacity back at 100, and then this one at 40, so we can kind of see where that eye is underneath it, so we can kind of make it work better. like within that shape, and then we want to take this lid out a little bit so that it can still show up here like that. I mean, the expression's okay, you know. So that's that. I'm fine with that, but it's just that his eye doesn't look quite like his own. This is one of the reasons I am real excited about this next phase of this project. And I think I've mentioned it a bunch of times, but I'm real excited about this next phase of the project, where we get to make characters that are consistently look like themselves, and not like something else. You know, that there's a consistency between the panels, um, because for me, like that, you know, that obviously, you know, makes the difference. Um, this Richard here and this Richard here are two very different Richards. I mean, like even their hair and everything. Like, um, so it's just, you know, I'm just there we go. And again, I kind of like the expression. But it's not quite working. What I want to do is, I can't do it because of the reflective spot, but I would like to do it like this. So he more is looking forward. Actually, I can do it like that. That goofy ass look. I think one of the things too is his face is a lot longer in this one than it has been in the other panels. And I understand that people's, you know, expression can change their face, but it does seem very drastically different. It's a very different character. Okay. Yeah, he looks dumb as fuck. Oh my God, I don't. Now his eyes do look right, but I don't have another angle for it. It's um hmm hmm I don't hmm I don't know, man. He does. He looks so fucking stupid. And Richard's not the dumb one. I mean, this expression I would be fine with on Peter, but maybe if when the other his bottom bill is in there, he'll look less dumb. Fuck, dude. He just is it that he looks cross-eyed? I think that he looks cross-eyed. Okay, I think also I'm gonna take this one out and I'm gonna replace it with an eye, but I'm gonna flip the other eye the same way. It's not time, buddy. Ooh, dude, that was real. I don't. You probably all saw that. Yeah, right in the crotch. Yeah, total total dick move, buddy. Okay, so that's that way. Let's do that and then flip it. You gotta wait, my man. You gotta wait. Okay, let's shrink this down quite a bit here-ish. I see you, guy. I see you. I do. Let's do the opacity on this guy. Okay, and we'll do a little bit of this. Do a little bit of this. Whoops. I'll do a little bit of this. Okay. Hopefully that looks not so weird. Yeah, he does look more starstruck than stupid, so that's good. I think that was what the goal was. So cool. Let's give that a save as the reach out the egg. And then cool. I need to loose his hand and like get it loose so it can what I really want to do with this is I want his hand to come down and push this button to make his shell come off, to come out of that protective shell that he's in, and so I think what I'm gonna do is start his hand down so you can't see it and out of frame, and then have it up and then push the button as she's talking. But that means I have to do the thing that I was trying to do before, which is get this hand out of here, which means completing this and all that again. But yeah, as I've been watching BoJack Horseman, you know, just watching again the animation style. I think I mentioned it a couple episodes ago, and how, you know, just how cool it is that they can turn around and stuff, because they, you know, they have that backside, and it's cool. There's a simple shot in the Weird Al episode, where you see Mr. Peanut Butter like turn around a couple of times before he gets in bed, and it's so simple, and but like it allows the joke to work, right? Without this, you know, I don't have to have somebody have drawn the backside. Although, of course, you know, you draw the backside so that you could use it anytime you want to. Things like the announcer, the news announcer, the whale news announcer, turning his head when he speaks. They're doing it intentionally so they can show off that they're using 3D models, and they're using them in two-dimensional ways. And I think it's just great, that they're doing that. And it's one of the things I'm excited about, the consistency of characters for one, but then also just that, you know, we could be able to do stuff like that. Like we can see them turn their heads, we can see them gesture and stuff like that. Use the backside of their hands and stuff. I do like this style where it's very flat and kind of like, you know, like that. It is what we can do with, you know, we're doing that like Monty Python-esque. We can do it. But yeah, it is definitely. Excuse me. It is definitely, you know, it creates challenges, for you know, everything. Just basically everything. So do this real quick. We'll do this. just so we have the hand, and then we're going to save that launch 2 and then put everything back on except for that hand. Oh yeah, we definitely don't want this anymore. So yeah, no, that's having a studio backing or a producers backing us and working with the studio, an animation studio who does these things on the regular. Very very exciting step forward. So um, and just for just the sheer quality of the project itself. So we can do the animation as it deserves to be done, you know. Uh, so so that it helps clearly convey the story, and isn't a distraction from the story. I think we've done a good job in this one. This last shot is the one I'm most worried about. I'm thinking about it the most. And I'm afraid that it's not going to convey as clearly, because of the lack of details and you know, the way that the movement's going to be. But I'm hoping that it turns out to not be the problem that I'm thinking it's going to be. If you've been tuning into these podcasts, that I have been worried about that sort of all along, and then I've been always kind of like um, pleasantly surprised that it hasn't been that it has been working. So hopefully it will be the case too here, as we go forward. Um, that's that it'll work. And I have faith in the making it work little by little, the dialogue, and then and possibly the additional music, that it will come together. But so far, I'm very tentative about everything. Just I think as you should be with everything, because I desire for it to be good, and so because I desire for it to be good, I can't approach it thinking that I'm gonna be the best, right? I have to approach it thinking that every catastrophe could happen, and in that, we need to take precautions to make it not happen. This is not quite behaving the way that I want it to. Margot, you need to wait. Okay, I think I need to do this. That's weird. Why is it? These should not be connected to each other. These should be separate because they always have been separate. Why is it? There we go. That's weird. Yeah, this is really behaving in a weird way. It's not really supposed to be doing that. right, that's kind of okay. Kind of. So we're coming up into the last few minutes of the show. So again, thank you for joining us here on a Cox and Space podcast, for tuning in and giving us your attention, time and attention for this project. It does mean the world to me, and hope that you've gained some inspiration along the way. That's always the my goal. You need to is to not just be here talking, but be here talking in a way that benefits the the person listening. That and just the same way that I've been talking about, like the nature of art, right? And its purpose is to give the audience something to take away. And that's the same thing with in talking with you in this is, yeah, we're here to demonstrate that this is not artificial intelligence, that this is artwork made by humans, for you, the human, applying our creative process to it, giving it our best abilities. Ooh, that does not look good together. Those are all the goals, of what we're doing here. But ultimately, it's so that, yeah, maybe I'll do a little thing like this. I'll lasso this a little bit, but also so that you can recognize, hey, that I'm a human, you're a human. We're living this experience together. The problems and issues that I have are not so different than the problems and issues that you have. That's hopefully the creative ruts that you're getting caught up in. You can recognize that you're not the only one who's ever been in those or had setbacks, or has striven, or that you as you're aspiring to do great work, that you would notice that it's possible, that it's you're not the only one who's doing that. That is what more people feel like the goal is. And in a capitalist system where it feels like the only thing that's worth doing is something you can sell, you know, and that's it. That's the whole end goal. It can really take the joy out of creation, or it can really knock you back when it doesn't quite do the thing, because then you start to judge your self-worth based off of whether or not it's making dollars at this point. And so uh, just stick with it. Just continue to make good work, and let the work continue to speak for itself. I think that's the only thing that we can do. Throughout history, people have done it because it was in their brain, and the only way to exercise it from their brain was by putting it on paper, putting it on canvas, playing it as a song. That they had to. Oh, geez. That these ideas desire so much to exist, and they kind of have to exist, and so um, that's why we continue to work on them as artists, is because they won't stop existing. They won't stop pushing to exist until they do. um, and we strive to do that in the best way possible. We strive to do that in a way that respects ourselves as artists, that allows us to respect ourselves as artists, and then allows to show the respect that's due to our audience. And so I hope that if anything, you heard anything today, that's what you heard, because that's that's something that I take very personal as like my own personal responsibility with making art, and then my own personal responsibility to you as the audience is that your time is valuable to me, that your life is valuable to me, and that okay, I think that will work. And that we're working on this, we're in this whole big thing together. So I got some progress made on this guy, and I'm going to use that as it is. I'm gonna come back later tonight. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be later tonight. If it's not, it's gonna be tomorrow, and then work on this a little bit more so I can get him where I want him, and then get Luna. I just need to unattach her arms and then get her mouth so it will move too. But yeah, those are the things that we're trying to do. We're real close to getting this finished. We had the basic movement down, and now we're just fine tuning the movement. And we did talk about in the producers meeting that we're going to be redubbing the whole thing, redo the dialogue, so it's a lot cleaner. So look for that on coxandspace.com. As always, I'm your host and friend, Skip Marazi. This is Behind the Scenes podcast for Cox and Space, the joy of animating, and we experience joy and we experience animating. Please take care of yourself out there, and we will see you soon. Bye.